What is going on, everyone? Today I'm here with Saman, and in this video we're going to talk about how he quit his corporate job to get into real estate. Stick around because there's going to be a lot of gold nuggets in here, and you want to make sure that you watch this so when you make the jump, or if someone else you know is making the jump, they do it perfectly. So Saman, to start off, why don't you maybe tell my audience about what exactly you're doing right now?
Sure. So right now I'm a full-time real estate agent, and I'm also a real estate investor.
Awesome. So you weren't always into real estate, right? You took a bit of a different route to start off. Why don't you tell my audience, where exactly you were and how that was all like?
Sure. So finished high school, but before finishing high school, it's really important to mention that I wasn't the brightest kid in high school. At best a B+ student, nothing crazy. Went to university, got my Bachelor's of Commerce, specialized in accounting.
Okay.
Right after university, so that was 2013, I went and I worked for the largest accounting firm in the world, which was a huge accomplishment for me. So someone who wasn't the smartest kid, getting a role at the largest accounting firm was huge. So I spent 4 years there doing a lot of corporate audits. And then after that, I jumped into working for an automotive manufacturing company as part of their finance team, their financial planning and analysis team. And there I got to work on a lot of forecasting, budgeting, and monitoring results and making sure that our company achieves the goals that they set forward to achieve.
Okay, cool. So Saman, that sounds like a pretty big deal. Like, was it good in terms of pay? How was that all like?
Yeah, I mean, when I worked at the accounting firm, everyone that you speak to will tell you that at first you're not getting paid a lot. So to be very transparent, my first year I was making $45K a year, which is not a lot of money. But everyone goes to the accounting firm to get the experience because as soon as you make the jump, there's a huge increase. So as soon as I left PwC, I started working at the automotive manufacturing company, and right away I was making $85K a year plus 10% bonus. And then a year later, I was close to $100K plus an additional 10% bonus. Wow. So it was quite material.
Yeah.
And of course, there are other career paths where it'll pay you more. But I just noticed that the amount of time you're investing in these companies and the amount of time you're putting in versus your pay, it's not a very attractive number when you break it down. When you look at your contract on paper, it's good, but then the number of hours spent versus your pay, it doesn't add up.
I see. So I guess, Saman, it sounds like, you were having a good job, good pay, but there was some things that you didn't like. What made you get into real estate? Why real estate out of all things?
Yeah, so it goes back to my hobby and what I enjoyed. So it's funny because when I was at my previous jobs, we would be in meetings, we'd be talking about, work-related items. We would leave, and then 2-3 minutes later, sit down for a discussion with my boss, and we'd be like, okay, well, what were the rates we were talking about in the meeting? Mm-hmm. And I'd be like, I don't know, I can't remember. Whereas now I'm finding myself, I'll have a conversation with a potential client about what they're looking for in terms of their house or an investment, and then I'll catch up with them a week later and nothing written down, but everything's in my mind because it's very, I'm very passionate about it.
Right.
It just sticks in my mind more naturally. So, it goes back to just not loving what I did before.
Gotcha.
And now looking at an asset class. Real estate is something that I really love, enjoy, and I believe in. I'm an investor myself, so it's just very more natural to me to be in.
Gotcha, cool. So Saman, how did you transition from making a good income to literally going into a business where you can make absolutely nothing if you don't put in the work? How did you transition? How did you find the transition, and what are some tips?
So a very good point. I'm going from making 6-figure to now making potentially 0.
Yeah.
But I know that having, again, going back to high school, not being the smartest kid and eventually managing to get into these big companies, I realize that I have the drive and I can outwork a lot of people if I put my mind to it. And now I know that I'm in a point in life where I'm married, I have a house, I have investments, I need to make ends meet, and I know that I'm going to work hard to make it happen, regardless I'm going to win at some point.
Right.
And I made a point to myself that I'm making a leap, and I'm not making the leap to chase money. I'm making the leap to chase happiness in terms of my lifestyle. And I know that I'm a trustworthy guy. I'm going to do things right, and eventually the money will come. But for me, the jump was more so I wanted to do something that I was truly happy with myself, and I wasn't going to do something just to have a fancy title or work for a huge company.
Right, and I think I really like what you said, because I find that a lot of people, they have chances to make more money, but if something fulfills them more, they'll usually go that route, because fulfillment is always way better than, an extra dollar or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I guess for someone watching this, if they are looking to, quit their job and get into real estate or whatever that may be, what are some tips and what are some things that you did to, make sure that you didn't completely go broke or you didn't get lost?
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
So, with me, I was, before I made the jump to full-time, I was already licensed. So I was licensed for 2.5 years, but it was always part-time.
Oh, okay.
And doing it part-time, you're not fully in it, right? So to go to your point, I was ready. When I made the jump to full-time, I was ready. I was already with a brokerage.
Right.
I had done a handful of deals. I knew how the paperwork worked. So I wasn't going into this fully blind. So I knew what to expect. And I had done a lot of the work that I need to do to be at the point of being full-time. So I guess I made sure that when I quit my job and when I got into real estate, I was ready to go. I was ready to work with clients. I wasn't like setting up my business. I had already set up my business.
Gotcha.
Number 2, because I had invested in real estate and I had made some good returns, I was very cautious with my money and I always saved. I made a lot of sacrifices early to make sure that if I was to make a leap into a new career path, I wasn't going to financially struggle. So I made sure that I had anywhere between 6 months to a year a safety net, essentially. I assumed when I went into this, that for 6 months to a year I'm going to have zero income. So what that means is that I'm ready to weather the storm, even if I have tough months.
Right.
And even if I do good, I'm still in a positive situation. So regardless, I was giving myself a buffer time, and I was making sure that financially I was ready to take this risk.
Yeah, I think it's important to kind of have that, like you said, safety net. Because if you don't and you go in full force and you do fail, you're screwed, right?
But I knew that I was eventually going to do this. So I was always prepping for it. It wasn't like I didn't get lucky. This thought didn't come to my mind over a night. It was work in progress.
Right.
I wish if I look back, there's a lot of times where I said, okay, I want to do this. I don't enjoy my life, but it took me pretty much maybe 2 years to do this because I had to prepare myself for this, financially and even mentally to make this jump, right?
I guess I like how you said looking back at this. Looking back at it, what's one piece of advice you'd give, Simon 2.5 years ago? What would you say to him?
So 2.5 years ago, I was leaving PwC to go to the automotive manufacturing company, my accounting job to the finance job. And I made that jump telling myself, okay, I'm not enjoying my corporate job right now. Let me give corporate another chance.
Right.
And I gave corporate another chance, and it was the same thing, but in a different place. Right? So I think the story here is if you don't enjoy something now, you're not going to enjoy it 2 years from now.
Right.
So if you want to make a change, you got to do it early. But if you're not happy now, you likely knew a year ago that you weren't happy. Right. So you got to start planning. If you're not happy, start planning now and not tomorrow.
I like that. One thing that I always say is, how are you going to expect change in your life without changing your habits, rituals, and routines? And it's literally what you just said.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Simon, obviously, real estate sounds like this glorious thing. You can make a lot of money, but obviously you've sacrificed a lot. Do you want to maybe tell my audience and maybe anyone looking for advice on this, what type of sacrifices they can expect to, have to make?
Yeah, I mean, I'll use a real life example. So
Perfect.
My first investment property was a pre-construction investment property. If you speak to a lot of people now, they'll say that it's not really investing, it's speculating, which I think is true. You're fully speculating. So when I bought my first investment property, it was a townhouse in Whitby. I didn't really have the money to do it, but I found a project where the deposit structure was split over a 12-month period. So that was right away attractive, but it was still a lot. It was $2,500 every month that you had to pay. Keep in mind, I've just graduated school. I don't have a job yet, but I'm starting my job in September. I'm in July and I'm deciding if I'm going to make this purchase or not. So I was like, you know what? Like, I have a bit of savings, so maybe I can go for it. I know that I'm going to start working. I'm going to make $45,000 a year. My paychecks on a monthly basis are around $3,000 bucks.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm going to be able to satisfy the commitment of putting forward a down payment. I'm going to have to travel downtown, so it's around $300 bucks a month on the GO train. I was like, okay, so I'm at $2,800. I have $200 bucks to spare for the month. I was like, this is gonna be rough. But I was like, I always see, like everyone says, invest in real estate, it'll put you ahead. I'm stretching myself thin. Let me just do it. Let me just go for it. I asked my parents, I was like, do you guys think I should do this? And they're like, yes, you should do this. Mm-hmm. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. So keep in mind, every month I'm paying $2,500 to the developer. I only have $3,000 bucks coming in. So what a lot of my friends were doing were they were going and living downtown. They're buying cars, traveling. So I was like, I was comparing myself to my friends. I was like, everyone's living a fabulous life, but I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm pouring money into this investment. I'm not even gonna have it for 2 years. So I'm going to spend a year paying for this thing. I'm not going to see returns for a minimum of 3 years.
Yeah.
Like this sounds like I may have screwed up.
Yeah.
Long story short, before I made the investment, I did some digging into the area, the developer, and essentially a lot of my research was pointing towards the right direction. Long story short, I purchased before the real estate spike, and then when I went to go sell, I had a huge gain from it. So when I look back at my sacrifices, so I sacrificed for a year of living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
But my returns were huge. It put me ahead very fast. I was able to turn that around and buy 2 other properties with it. So it was a short-term sacrifice for a huge gain. 2 years, 3 years down the line.
Yeah, I like how you even talked about like taking the risk. A lot of people, I feel like they want to, take the jump to real estate, but they don't understand the risk involved in that, and even the sacrifices. Like I'm sure, like you see all your friends like partying, doing whatever, and you're just there like, oh, I wish I could do that, but like you just can't. Yeah. It's the sacrifice you take, and I think it's like you live a few years like that, taking sacrifices, and then for the rest of your life, you're kind of set, right?
Yeah. I mean, you can live paycheck to paycheck 2 different ways.
Yeah.
You can live paycheck to paycheck because you're investing in the right assets.
Yeah.
Or you can live paycheck to paycheck because you have a huge car payment.
Yeah.
You're buying expensive shoes.
A house you can afford.
Exactly, a house you can, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Guys, there was a lot of value in this video. Simon, there might be some people that have some questions. Where can they contact you if they do have anything?
Well, I can definitely respond to comments in the video or on YouTube.
Yep.
And also, if people want to reach out to me, they can reach out to me on Instagram on SimonHabibi_real estate.
Yep.
Or on Facebook, Simon Habibi Real Estate.
Yep. And I'll link his Instagram down below. Make sure you guys go check him out. Drop him a follow. Also, we touched a bit about pre-construction investing. We also did a video with Cam Cassidy talking a bit about that. Go check it out as well. Regardless, it's been Radis, another interview. Make sure you leave a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video. And until next time, we'll see you guys later. Take care.